Hi, this is Zena Krogadal, your American Dream Maker host today. Thank you so much for watching the live stream. We have a very special guest today, and I'm just so excited to have her on here. Her name is Debbie Maranville, and she is just an amazing woman. So I am excited to introduce her. But first, I'll be right back. So here we go. Okay, I'm back. Well, that was a little bit fun. That's the first time I used that. So, okay, well, the wait time is over. I'd like to introduce Debbie Maranville, and here she is. I'm going to add her here. Hi, Debbie. How are you today?
Good morning. I'm doing very well. Thank you. Thank you. Got a nice warm cup of coffee. On St. Patty's Day.
Yes. I forgot to wear my green, but I have my little green background here, so I hope that counts.
There's mine.
Oh, sweet.
I do see your plants. Yes, that does count.
Well, thank you so much for taking your time out of this busy day. I know it is a busy, busy time for you right now. So really appreciate you being on the new show, American Dream Makers. So Debbie, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Well, I was born and raised in the South Chicago area, and I lived there for 22 years. And I was very blessed the way I was able to grow up. Chicagoland area was booming, and my family then moved to southern suburbs. But the neat thing about growing up is in Chicagoland, we shared homes with our relatives. My great grandparents on both my grandfather's side and my grandmother's side. My maiden name is Scardini, so I'm Italian and German. But they all came here on the boat in the 1920s. So for me, that was exciting because I learned about, folks immigrating in school, and I had them in my own house. And the stories that were told, oh my, very fun stories, very different stories of how they used to eat. And also my grandmother raised her 5 children during the Depression. So my background is culinary, and food is hospitaliano. My grandmother would always just cook from her heart. And I was very blessed to receive those genes from grandma. People called her by Betty. Her name was Elizabeth Betty Scardini when she was married, and it was easier to say Betty. But we called her Grandma Scardini. And then I had my Grandma Hess, which was her mother and stepfather, just around me. And Grandma Scardini, though, was a big inspiration to me. She had a kitchen upstairs and a kitchen downstairs in her home. And I was blessed to have the opportunity to live with her for a while. And so I would follow my grandmother. I'd go up and down the stairs, just watching her cook food. And I just loved it. And certain times she would have recipes and she never followed them. I remember a time when she was making homemade pasta, and she had the piece of paper on the counter with a recipe, but she didn't look at it. She just told me, now watch this. And she made her big mound of flour and made a well and cracked the eggs, and then how to roll it. And then she put them over the rafters. The pipe work in the basement. It was really fun. So I was inspired with culinary and food growing up as a young girl. And then I met Julia Child on TV, and I just loved her shows. My brothers and sisters would be watching the Three Stooges and Little Rascals, and I would turn on Julia Child and just watch the French chef. Just loved it. And growing up, we were in the south suburbs. At one point, we had 2.5 acres that we lived on. My mom had an organic garden back in the 70s. Nobody said organic because that's the only way it was. We had fruit trees, amazing produce, horses, again, south suburbs of Chicagoland area. So I had an opportunity to learn many different ways. When I was young, I have 6 brothers and sisters. So there's um, actually, I'm the oldest of 7. So that nurturer caretaker is in me too. I was given those genes and opportunities as well. So that's a little bit about how I grew up and where I grew up.
Wow, that sounds really exciting. And if there was 2 kitchens, an upstairs and the downstairs, you must have
Yes.
ate some really good food. So what kind of foods did you eat?
So primarily, a lot of it was Italian and then classic American with the Italian spin. I remember my grandmother would be cooking on Saturdays and Sundays. She would cook for the week. So she would be making meatloaf in Dutch ovens on the stovetop, spaghetti sauce, lasagna. One of my favorite dishes that she would be making is lentil soup with hard boiled eggs. Again, as I mentioned earlier, growing up in the Depression, she had to feed her family with a little bit. So imagine you get a box, whatever's in that box, and you have to cook with it and stretch it out. She used to say, stretch it, stretch it. I remember that. Amazing baked goods, homemade rolled pizzas, spinach pie, cookies, coffee. She was a coffee girl. In fact, she would have a lot of instant coffee versus like a percolator style that my other grandmother would make. But yeah, we had so much. I mean, the list would go on, but Italian base, huge, huge, huge. My father was a hunter, and well, he still is. Bless his heart. He just turned 81 this year, and he lives in right outside Chicagoland area in Indiana, and he hunts. And so he loves hunting for pheasant, for dove, for geese. So we had a lot of that growing up as well. I remember hunting with my father and him teaching me how to lay on the train embankment and learn how to fire a shotgun. And I never caught the birds, but I was in charge of cleaning them, which wasn't always fun. Um, but yeah, food is thy medicine. I do want to share that. You know, growing up, we would make things with what we had. We weren't very wealthy. We were happy. We were given what was provided. We would make whatever we had. I was telling one of my chefs today, my stepmom would always say, what do you have a taste for? What do you have a taste for? And we'd say, okay, we have a taste for this. Now, granted, I don't think I ever said shrimp, lobster, salmon. That wasn't part, but we wanted spaghetti or a certain type of noodle, mastacholi, rigatoni. Her mom, my grandma Carol, taught me how to make homemade tortillas. My stepmom was Hispanic, and so I got to learn a lot of the Latino culture as well growing up, and it just stuck with me. So when we eat food, it brings us together. I'm a nurturer. I know we all have different love languages, and mine is food. I am also a certified herbalist, and I went to herbalism school in the Prescott Valley, Arizona location. It's called Herbal Wisdom Institute, and that was founded by Chris Vaughn. She's the herbal instructor, and what I learned about the power of the plants was even more powerful. My husband thought I'd be doing tinctures and teas and other things to help our wellness center, but oh no, I had something else come about, and I fell in love with the culinary herbs. So you've heard the song, parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. Well, then I added basil, garlic, and turmeric to that, and I just learned how the power of the plant, not only did it taste good, but it was good for us. So that's just super exciting about incorporating just fresh food and creating different cuisine. And it's good
Wow.
for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing, Debbie. Hi, Eric. I just wanted to say hello, welcome. Thanks for tuning in with us this morning. And yes, food is medicine, and that's really impressive, Debbie. So tell us a little bit about you. You own a catering company. And you also have a Sunday breakfast. So can you tell us the name of your place and what you do here in the community, and maybe um, elaborate? I mean, it's great that you had the herbal background, and so you add it to our food, and so that's amazing. So I guess tell us a little bit maybe about some of the special recipes you have, even for us as you cater.
Absolutely. So our catering company is called Goods from the Garden Catering and Events, and that is located in Prescott at the Gateway Mall, where we also have our garden event center. That's where our commercial kitchen is. And as a caterer, you have to legally cook in a commercial kitchen. You can't cook in your home kitchens and then go out and serve food unless you're a cottage baker. But in the line of work that I went to on to pursue, having a commercial kitchen is very important. So we're very blessed. We have a very large kitchen. In fact, we also are able to share our kitchens with other businesses. For example, we have commissary partners. We have Max with Theodore's Bagels. He sells at the farmer's market. We have Priscilla with Safari Samosas. You may have seen her products out at the farmer's market. We have a couple other folks that come in and use our space so they can operate food trucks. So we're allowed 4 commercial businesses to be working with us through the county. And so when we were growing up as our toddler stage years, we launched in 2015. And a cute story, I used to cook for people. I would just do personal chef. I would have garden parties at our Natural Healing Garden Wellness Center. And there was one gal that worked with us, and she's like, I love your food. Will you do my church party? And I said, well, sure, I could do it. I said, how many people? She said, 200. My eyes opened up, and my husband said, honey, I think it's time for you to get your catering license now. So we applied for the license in 2015, and that's when Goods from the Garden Catering and Events was born. And from there, we do all different types of events. But that church event, and that was done by my friend Tamara, it really was the highlight of my career to launch. And so we were cooking for the Sacred Heart Church, and we had to do different origins from around the world. So talk about crazy in the kitchen, but it was so much fun. And I really like to tune on that a lot too, because here at our commercial kitchen and at work, the culinary industry is always a challenge one as far as overall costs go, finding the people who are passionate about cooking. They say anybody could cook, but we look for those that are passionate about cooking, because when you cook with passion, you feel it when you're receiving it. When the food is made by people who care and are following our guideline and also given the opportunity to be creative, it comes out in the food. It comes out in the presentation of the food when we explain the food. And what I love to do is when people like bite into the food and they're like, they give you that yummy face. It's like, yes, we got it. Because it's a part of it, creating that experience. You know, we have our hands for touching and seeing and tasting and smelling, but that taste and the smell and the seeing is really important to our company, how we present the food. As I mentioned, going to the food as thy medicine piece, creating food and catering for weddings, memorials, networking parties, gala events. We do a lot here in community for catering services, and we know everyone has a different budget. Coming out of COVID, that truly changed the way that we do our business as well. We can work and do catering. When the governor says, okay, everyone's shut down, you have to be creative and think out of the box. And there were some amazing restaurateurs here in community that said, okay, we got to do things different because we still had to survive. We had to give hours to our people. And how was that going to look? And in addition to catering every day, our company also prepares meals for clients that are with Polara Health, which is one of the largest organizations in the Yavapai County area. And back in the day, it was West Yavapai. So July 2018, we were offered the opportunity to prepare breakfast, lunch, and dinner for 45 to 50 patients every day. And so we would take the fresh food that they were given, or that we served, and we would also tell them stories. An experience I had at the substance abuse, which is the Hillside location, we talked about basil and how basil is so good for the liver, because when your liver is happy, it helps. It's one of the major organs that helps with decision making up in the brain. And we know that men and women going through a hard time as they're focusing on their wellness, we would say, eat basil, eat beets. They'd be like, I don't want to eat beets. Those are purple. I said, trust me, they're going to come out purple, but they're so good for your tummy. Try them. And they'd say, Debbie, it works. Debbie, it works. So to talk about a heartfelt way of sharing food with compassionate men and women, I often have to pinch myself, like, is this really what we're doing too? We get to feed so many people going through such a difficult time in their life. And we're perfectly imperfect. However, we have folks that are in adult care centers. We have day centers that eat the food. We have a couple other psychiatric hospitals that eat our food. And so working with those men and women has been a huge part of our success of, I guess, staying alive after COVID. You know, you have to think out of the box, and to be able to nurture folks with food every day, in addition to weddings and parties, we all have to eat. And so to be able to share that is amazing. In 2020, it was a hard year for all of us, and we were awarded 2021. I got a call from Sherry Heine, the CEO of the Prescott Chamber of Commerce. And she said, are you sitting down? And I said, no, but I can. She said, I wanted you to know that you were awarded Philanthropist of the Year. And I started crying. Literally, the tears were coming out of my eyeballs, my ears, my wrists. You know, I was like, us? You know, I thought of a philanthropist as someone who has lots of zeros that write checks. And I don't do that. Our company doesn't, we don't get to do it with checks, but we do it with food. And so it takes a lot of resources, not only purchasing food, but the people to make the food. And so when we were awarded that, look at me, I get all mushy. I'm emotional too, in a good way. But it was like, wow, that's what we do. We bring the food and we celebrate the food. And at times I have to look at my business plan to say, okay, does it follow this? Does it follow this? Does it follow this? Sometimes, Zena, it doesn't always follow, but it's like, I just feel God saying, Debbie, I need you to do this today. And we do it. And whoo, it's powerful. It's very powerful. So thank you for letting me share that part.
Oh my goodness, that is so amazing. Hi, Janie. I just want to say hello. Thank you for joining us. And you guys, if you have any questions at all, please put it in the chat. You know, Debbie absolutely, would love to answer any questions you have. Debbie, I have experienced your catering and your food around town, and yet you have an absolutely big heart. And I can taste that love and the passion and the heart that you put into it. And there is such a difference. And I grew up with a mom that loved to cook too, and that was her love language to all of us. And you're right, it makes a difference when somebody, because you can cook, you can follow a recipe, but when you love it, there's like something really magical that goes into that, right? Just really magical. And it just seems like you can absolutely taste it. So, oh my gosh. I mean, I appreciate you sharing your heart and your deep felt passion for it, because it's not just about catering. Tell us a little bit more. I'd like to hear about, all the years of experience that you have been doing this. And oh my gosh, meeting Julia Childs, what was that like, right? I'd love to hear about that. And then also any lessons learned or takeaways that you have for us in the experience that you have had over the years.
Absolutely. Well, as far as the meeting part, and I don't know if I was completely clear. I met her because I was watching her TV program. So I never got to like meet her in person, but to me, she was in my front room. I would watch her every day, and just the way she would cut things in her laugh, bon appetit. She was just amazing. And my grandmother would laugh, and she didn't have that much of a German accent because she came from Germany. But she had that Chicago style accent, and it was beyond words. Before I forget, bringing out the Julia in me, I traveled with my husband to my brother-in-law's in Maryland, and we were there. I want to say in maybe 2018. We went for Thanksgiving, and we jumped on a train and we went to Washington, DC, and we went to I think it was the Smithsonian Institute, and Julia Child's kitchen was in there. Oh my gosh, I didn't want to leave. I'm just like, there it is. There's her kitchen. You know, the kitchen is amazing. I love having a window in my kitchen. I think it's so important. My current home doesn't have a window in the kitchen, but it has a big set of French doors. And so I put a mirror with this real cute little trim and a crystal hanging to pretend it's a kitchen window, because I just feel in my heart, you know, it's God just looking in on me and just saying, yes, you know, you're doing exactly what you want to do. And I look out the window and it's like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. But a cute little story as far as my background goes, I started working for McDonald's Corporation when I was 15. So my culinary journey started with McDonald's back in the Chicagoland area. And I worked for McDonald's for 26 years. A lot of people don't know that about me. When I think of McDonald's, I think of diversity. I think of the amazing men and women that I got to work with throughout my career. I worked for the corporation and then 1 year for franchise. And I learned a lot about systems and people. And yes, it was a burger, a fry, and a shake, but I feel that the systems and the training that I received just really helped set me for where I am right now. I was able to work with people from all over the country. I was training individuals from Thailand, from France, Switzerland. I actually went to Hamburg University, and that's where I received the Gold Hat Award, which was given to me. I was awarded this by my classmates. There was 120 that I went to Hamburg University with back in Oak Brook, Illinois, and I graduated in 1990. And it was a gold hat back in the days. The men in McDonald's wore hats because women weren't there yet till the 70s. And they painted it gold, they put it in a frame, and everybody signed it. And my boss came for a dinner, and I thought, oh my gosh, Chris. So Chris Slott, if you're on there, you're a huge part of my success. But she was sitting next to me, and they called out back in the day. At that time, I was Debbie White when I was married, that I won the Gold Hat Award. Me? Out of all these people. It was an honor to be able to receive this from folks that were from all over the country that just thought that I made an impact on their experience while they were attending university. It was great. So moving forward, as I mentioned, through those years, my mom moved to Arizona and she worked at little cafes. And so I would go to work with her because I didn't have a lot to do and I loved. And so I was around classic American food. I was around Thai food. Remember working with my mom. I bartended at Char's Thai Food in Tempe, right where ASU is. And I didn't know how to make drinks, but they had a little catalog. And so I would have drinks. And at the end of the day, you got a shift meal. Oh, I didn't even want to get paid. I just wanted the real food. Um, eating just different flavors just lifts me up. So that's a little bit of the background of kind of where it started. And for a brief time, as I mentioned, our commercial kitchen is at the Gateway Mall. It's in an old Macayo's Cantina building. And kind of put the little thing around here. I'm going to go up a little bit. I don't know if you could see some of the pottery that was left that we kept. But I also worked for Macayo's for 9 months. Oh, I just lost you. Can you see me?
I can see you.
Okay. I think I did something. Well, as long as you can see me, that's good because I clicked on something.
Oh.
But anyway, it was just, it was fun. And my step grandmother, unfortunately passed away, and she was always on my shoulder. Here I am, assistant managing a Macayo's Cantina. I just love food. Food is so important. Being around food, being exposed to food, smelling the food, looking at the food, picking the food, tasting the food, and sharing the food. That's awesome. My husband Richard is a massage therapist, and he and I both have a lot of food industry and culinary experience. And he never wanted to get in the restaurant business again. He thought, I'm done. I'm done. Well, we moved to Chino Valley, and in 2005, in 2006, he wanted to help me fulfill a dream of mine, which was opening up a restaurant. And so in 2007, while I was still working for McDonald's, we opened, but he did all the work with our staff and our family, Our Place Restaurant and Coffee House. So it was located right across from Safeway, next to the Sonic. And we operated through the middle of 2008, and the recession was there, and we were in a very old physical plant, and we couldn't hang on anymore. So unfortunately, we closed, and like other businesses, suffered a lot during that time frame, but it fulfilled a dream of mine. And I realized, wow, this is definitely not a McDonald's, because you didn't get an operations manual. You had to create your own manual, and you had to do all of your own work and do it with your staff. And that was like, wow. I thought I really then had a spirit for restaurateurs, because it is a lot of work every day. People say, you're in the grind, and you can be if you choose to be, but really surrounding ourselves with great people is amazing. So I am grateful that we're still able, several years later, to share community and share food. And I guess I wouldn't want it any other way. I know it's God's plan and God's will, but it's amazing that we can do that and share food. A little thing about today, I'll just want to give you an example. Today we're serving our patients and the clients that we work with. And we serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We're going to the Phippen Museum. We're going to be doing a members event. This is where we go and we share with our staff past appetizers. We do 3 savory and 2 sweets. And this, is amazing. Our culinary team prepared an in-house smoked pastrami. We're making a corned beef pastrami slider with homemade rye bread. We also have a Guinness smoked Dubliner cheese. Our chef Charles, he smoked the Dubliner cheese and put it in a cheese sauce. And Chef Justin, our pastry chef, is making Guinness cupcakes and Bailey's cream cheese with Bailey's whipped topping. So if you're not a member of the Phippen, I think you better reconsider. Tomorrow we have a wedding. Sunday we have an expo that we're doing at the Willow Creek Inn. So we get to just serve with so many different layers of folks. It's pretty awesome. Again, I have to sometimes pinch myself. And then at the end of the day, when I'm exhausted and my feet are hurting, and I look at my husband and I thank him for helping me fulfill my dream. It may not have been his, but he also gets some good rewards from it too. He gets the great food. He gets to see me smiling, sometimes crying. And he gets to do the behind the scenes for us. So I couldn't do it without you, Richard. So thank you for being my husband and being my partner.
That's awesome. Hi, Ken. Hi, Jeffrey. Thanks for joining us. Debbie it, it's just amazing. I had no idea about that. You went to Hamburger University. How cool is that? I don't know very many people who can say that. So that's amazing. And then the menu you just talked about today. Holy cow. Wow.
Yeah.
And if somebody did want to become a member of what was it called again?
Oh, the Fippen Museum.
Oh, the Fippen Museum.
Yeah, the Fippen. So that's one of the museums here in Community. And it's off of 89, right where almost where the 89A intersects. And they have amazing, amazing Western art. Different artists come through during different times of the month. And we've been one of the preferred culinary vendors. They have different partners that they work with at the Fippen to create the culinary experience. And so we've been very blessed to work with them. On an average, I would say we do about 8 events a year with the Fippen. Okay. And that's a great way for us to also get referrals and create future business by people just eating the food and then saying, oh, I want you to do our anniversary party. Oh, can you please help me? My husband passed and I need help with a memorial. Or the Fippen just asked us to come and prepare meals for their members, for the board of directors. And it's just a fun way to celebrate. Yeah, and you have all the beautiful artwork around too. It makes for a great workspace. It's a lot of schlepping though. I will say, if someone were to say, what would be one of the hardest things with catering, the schlepping of lifting all the equipment. I mean, we're talking crates and bins and carfuls because people see all this food laid out. It's like, oh, look how pretty it is. Well, it took us about usually 8 to 12 hours just to make it. Then we have to transport it. Then we have to present it. So really before you take that bite, we've touched the product and the environment like 8 times to get it all ready for everyone to eat. You know, Costco has it made. You know, they have these big kitchens and big platters, and you go get a platter of food and then you bring it home. We can't compete with Costco, but you know, they have everything in their big warehouse. Well, we have our own warehouse, and our team, if they are listening or when they get to hear this at a future time, they'll be like, yep, they got a warehouse. But there's a lot of equipment and a lot of hands that, you know, share the experience as well.
Yeah, and
it's a true culinary experience.
It's definitely a labor of love as well. Just doing all the, like you said, the back of the scene of bringing and delivering. You guys do an amazing job for sure. And Debbie, you're just amazing. So, what's the largest group that you have catered? What is the largest amount of people you've catered for?
The largest amount at one time. The first thing that comes to my mind, we did a pancake breakfast for Governor Ducey back in 2000, I think it was 19, and there was about 300. But then I guess I'm going to back up a little bit. The largest group that we've catered for was when President Trump came to the airport, and we were invited the night before. They called us and said, Debbie, we need help. We have an opportunity. We need someone to bring breakfast and drinks. And I said, well, where am I bringing it to? I need you to bring it to the airport. We need your help with Trump. I'm like, okay. So that would be the biggest, because there were thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people that were in one space waiting to meet President Trump. I remember the feeling that I had when the helicopter and the plane was over. I mean, the goosebumps were just coming on my arms, and my staff was running up and down the driveways carrying, we had bottled water, we had hot coffee for those that wanted coffee, we had iced tea, lemonades. We're trying to keep people hydrated because it was hot. And then we ran out of beverage. I mean, we had hundreds and hundreds of bottles. So we had fruit left. So we're like, here, people were like all sweaty and waiting just to be part of this celebratory opportunity. So we were making fruit cups and saying, here, suck on the pineapple, suck on the cantaloupe. So yeah, that would be the biggest one. Yeah.
Wow. Did you get to meet President Trump?
I did not. I did not. It was very, very difficult, even for those that were there in the area. And I just figured I'm doing my part. We're going to do our part, and know that, you never know. You never know. So. But one thing that you just reminded me, I'm not sure how much time we have, but I like to tell another little story.
Please.
So as a caterer, even before I was in catering, my mom catered. And so Mom, thank you, Linda, for the inspiration, because my mother was a gourmet caterer and I really never knew what she did. Until I became a caterer. It's like, oh yeah, I get it. I see what you did. But I would always watch. At the end of every movie, it goes through all the different line items and all the different actors and production managers and where the scenes were. We want to thank Prescott, Arizona for using the blah, blah, blah. And you see the woofer and the gapper. And then you see the caterer at towards the end, never the beginning. But with catering, you think everyone's connecting, but I always look and I'd say, oh, look at that caterer, look at that caterer. Then I would Google them and I'd learn about it. And I just look at them and think, oh my God, they're from New York. And oh my gosh, they're from Spain. Oh my God, they're from West Africa. I would just learn where all these people came from. And recently, last month, February and March, we had the opportunity to cater for a movie that was filmed here. It's called Mysteries of the Heart, Moth. And there were some amazing local businesses that came together to support this small film company. It was Nicely Films. They're from Scottsdale. And I got to meet the owner. And through the whole experience, I told them my dream was to always, find a way that I could have goods from the garden listed as part of the credits on a film. And I was speaking to Vanessa, the owner, and to Curtis, one of the managers, and they said, well, that dream's going to come true. So here it is, Prescott, Arizona, part of a film crew, that we were able to feed these men and women who, most of them were from Scottsdale and LA. So it's warm there. And they came up and we had snowstorms, snow every day. We had to go through the elements and feed these men and women. And, it was a small film. So there's a small budget and we figured it out. And we work with folks from Yavapai College, City of Prescott, other local businesses were helping. The Marino's Mob Burger was one of the sets that they use for part of the movie. We were over at Prescott Tire Pros with Louis Gomez and team, and it was really cool. And my team was out there just serving these men and women, and it was neat. But I got a dream of mine is coming true, to just say goods from the garden, catering and events, that little line.
Yeah, Debbie, those accomplishments, you should tout those proudly, because not very many people get to have those kinds of experience. And by the way, I am so glad that you're on here saying Prescott, because I have some viewers on here who are kind of thinking I was a liar, saying that it's really pronounced Prescott and not Prescott. So thank you for verifying and showing that I'm not a liar.
You're not. You have too much integrity for that.
I'm just teasing. They didn't really call me a liar, but they kind of had their like, are you sure that's what, how it's really said? I said, listen, if you come to visit me in Prescott and you say Prescott, you're going to get beat up. So I'm trying to help you out here.
Yeah, there we go.
But for those of you that don't live in the Prescott area, does does listening to Debbie make you want to come to Prescott just so you can just taste her food? I mean, we have wonderful, beautiful scenery here too. So this is nothing like what you think of Arizona whatsoever, first of all. But let me know. I mean, put in the chat, put a number one if you think, you definitely would like to come out to Prescott and taste goods from the garden. She obviously makes food from her heart and with a lot of passion. And boy, oh boy, what experiences you've had. And you know what, Debbie? I have a feeling that that's not the end of your adventures. And I mean, I have a feeling that things will probably just continue to open up for you and your team, because when you give with the generosity that you give, it's infectious, and it just brings on it just brings on more good stuff and opens up doors. God ends up opening up doors that we never even have imagined. And so what an adventure and a ride you are on. So as we finish up here, I want one last thing for you to share with us. So the show is called American Dream Makers, and you certainly are an American dream maker. So not only did your family come over and get to live the American dream, and you're living the American dream. I mean, wow. How are you helping in other people in other ways to help assist in their American dream? Do you have any things that you're doing currently, things that you want to do in the future? Can you share with us that?
Yeah, as you're asking, my body's like getting ready to release emotion here. So, one of the things that I'm very passionate about are helping people with autoimmune disease, specifically cancer. And so, one of my goals is to create a line and a product, and soup is where I'm going through, because men and women with autoimmune disease, they can only eat certain things, or sometimes they can't eat. I was diagnosed in June with Hashimoto's disease, and I thought, who, me? How could I have an autoimmune disease? And my naturopath said, Debbie, you cannot eat gluten and you cannot eat dairy. And I, deer in the headlight looks like, no way. Who? No, me. I was raised on pasta. I was raised on fresh Italian bread. I would have cream and honey in my coffee every day. However, I had to give that food up. And so I have, and it's changed my life. But I would love to create a ministry that has soup for men and women and children that are suffering with the disease. And, cancer is the biggest one, but there's so many autoimmune out there that people aren't aware of. There's those that are even listening may not be aware of it. But it is my goal to work with the community and create that opportunity so that not only everyone can eat, but those going through one of the most hardest times in their life can hold a cup of soup and just sip the broth, and perhaps the turmeric, the garlic, the kale, the zucchini, the onion, and whatever ingredients we're able to put in there, and just break down bones and cook chicken stock and bone broth so they could drink that soup, and that could help them get through a very difficult time. That is one of my goals and my passions. And we have a lot going on right now in our garden as we're trying to open up amazing pies for the last 2 years, but well wishes from the garden will be part of that ministry. Not only if someone's sick, you want them to get well, but people that are well and they want to celebrate with food. We will definitely have ways that we could make sure if somebody needs a meal, they're going to get it.
Wow, Wow, Debbie, that's just your passion. And even with that, you're right. My husband has been having to be gluten-free and dairy-free and sugar-free, and it is tough. But when you realize that you can have foods that taste just as good that don't have those items, uh, it's nice and it's refreshing. And so to have someone like you who has the background that you have, I mean, you not only have been to Hamburger University, but you became, an herbal specialist and adding that into the foods and allowing it to heal. So, Debbie, what is the smallest minimum amount of people you can cater for?
Well, the group size that we like to target would be 20. That's like the number that comes. But I know my husband's listening to me. He'll be like, Debbie, don't lie. I have folks that say, I need dinner for two. It's my husband's anniversary. It's our Valentine's. And can you help us with the dinner for two? So we look at what we're cooking on the menu and we can create dinners for two. But yeah, 20 is probably that magic number.
Okay. So Jeffrey Wolf says, my friend Jeffrey Wolf says, wow, what a great mission. Keep up the great work. I agree.
Thank you,
Wholeheartedly.
Jeffrey.
So if somebody wants to get a hold of you, Debbie, for a catering job, how would they get a hold of you?
Well, they can go to our website, and that is goodsfromthegarden.com. And there's a contact us portion that you can just type in the information you're looking for, and that's a great way to reach out. You can call us at our local business number here in Prescott. It's 928-237-3214. We are on Facebook. I know social media is a huge part of our society right now. So Goods from the Garden is our Facebook page. We are located at the Gateway Mall. We're in the old Macayo's Cantina at 3250 Gateway Boulevard, Suite 516. And I think those are some of the best ways to get a hold of us. Yes.
Okay. And for those of that you will be watching this on the replay, please be sure to share this out. Get Debbie's message out to the community and to everyone out there in social media, because they need to hear what Debbie has shared. It was phenomenal, Debbie. I just, like I said, there are things that I didn't even know. And so I'm so glad that you took time out today. And I know, like I said, I know it's a busy day. You got a lot of catering to do. And I really appreciate that you took the time out to share with us. Please continue to serve. I know you serve the VA rep, which I'm part of that nonprofit organization for veterans. And we appreciate you so much in everything that you do. And you are everywhere, and you do so much, and your heart is so big. So blessings to you, my friend. And again, you guys, please share and support Debbie. If you see her, give her a big hug. She loves hugs.
I do. I do. Yeah.
Give her a big hug and let everybody know about her. So I'm going to go ahead and end this. And Debbie, I'd love to have you back on another time, and and we can maybe kind of dive a little bit deeper into some of the subjects that you talked about a little earlier. And limited on time, we can't expound on everything. But gosh, you have so much interesting stuff that I'd love to take an even deeper dive. So if you're okay with that, we'd love to have you back on. So
I love it. Thank you so much, and thank you again for the invitation to be part of this journey that you're on. When you asked me, I was just very moved and inspired. So I was happy to have the time available. Thank you for letting me share my story.
You are absolutely welcome. I'm going to put you in the green room and we're going to end the show, but please don't take off. I will be back with you in just a bit. Okay.
Okay.
So thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you next time. All right.